Thanks for joining us today for the Moral Compass Collective's fourth meeting. I shared a story yesterday about being able to amplify your own human voice, and I wanted to comment on that for just a moment because it's part of what our glimmer of hope is for today. What we were talking about was amplifying a human voice over the voice of bots because a lot of bots are taking over all of our conversations online. And part of the glimmer of hope from yesterday was that the world might not be as divisive as you think. And some of the comments that really incite some internal rage and definitely some division might exist because it's a bot out there that's creating it to make us argue. The intent is to make us argue. I did note in the Instagram story that we shared that in the comments about Charlie Kirk's death, about 40% ended up actually being bots that were trying to control the narrative. And something that you should always think about when you're thinking with bots is somebody is paying for that to exist. So not only is somebody paying bots to divide us, but somebody is also paying for these bots to control the narrative. And so I wanted to take the time to share my screen because something funny happened whenever we went through and were commenting about the bot. So if I'm sharing my screen, the first thing that you can see here is the reel that we had talking about how bots were controlling the narrative. And the funny thing here is if you look to the right, there is somebody called Steve Stubbs who commented on our post. He said, "Where's your proof? Stop making this stuff up." Um, and somebody commented back to Steve. I commented back to them. And so I wanted to look a little bit more into Steve because I didn't know Steve. And I'm so excited to say that we have over 70 members now, even though this movement's only a week old. But Steve isn't one of our members. Steve doesn't have anything to do with the Moral Compass Collective, nor do I know him or am I related or know somebody that knows him. So let's look into Steve a little bit and find out about Steve, the defender of bots. Um, so first off, what we're looking at when we're looking at Steve, Steve doesn't have any pictures on here. There's no identifying information. He doesn't have any posts. He's not got any workplaces, schools, family and relationships doesn't exist. Basic info doesn't exist. Details about Steve doesn't exist. It starts to make you think that maybe Steve doesn't exist. If I go further, looking at friends, no friends to show. Steve is following some people though. So that I thought was specifically interesting. So when we wanted to look at what Steve is following, I'm going to go just to his likes in general. Steve likes to follow Alpha News, which happens to be located in Minnesota. I would say Steve probably likes to go into Minnesota news and comment on there. Steve also tends to like, I think, beautiful women, specifically belly dancers. Those seem to be his favorite because obviously he's into belly dancing and is an avid belly dancer. So in addition to Steve liking beautiful women on here, there's quite a few things that you'll see like Business Insider that tend to post content that can lean left or right or political in either direction. And I think Steve is having a little bit of fun online, learning about all of these beautiful belly dancers. And then also, Steve is getting on things like Alpha News and Business Insider to comment and incite. And he somehow found our post and wanted to comment it on well as well. So something else that we're going to learn about Steve. Let's go over here to restaurants. Steve, in addition to looking at beautiful women online, also likes to look at them in person at a restaurant called the Full House Club, and it's located in Thailand. So, what have we learned about Steve? He's pretty much non existent in the US, slightly pervy or into hardcore belly dancing, and he also likes to frequent uh, strip clubs in Thailand. He listed as a restaurant. Steve, we hope that you don't eat there. That's all I have to say. So, something that we need to learn is the glimmer of hope for today is again, you shouldn't feel as divided when you're reading things online about your community because your community might not be as divided as you think. If 40% of the comments about Charlie Kirk were bots, 60% were hopefully real. And if you feel really down and upset and rageful when you read comments, it's probably intended to be there because you have fine folks like Steve that are spending their time making posts and comments about us. So, the most important thing to remember is that we are not as divided as we think. And take a little glimmer of hope that some of these things that you read when you say, oh, I can't believe they said that, or I can't believe they think like that. They might not think like that at all. It might be Steve on his phone sitting at Full House Club and Restaurant in Thailand, just trying to make you upset and angry. So I tried to look up what should we do about these bots because whenever we talk about the enemy within and the enemies that are working against the best interests of Americans and working against democracy, you have people like Steve from Thailand who is definitely within our borders trying to incite at least division, if not eventually leading to violence. So, one thing that people tend to do, I used to be very guilty of this. I would comment and say, Steve, you're a bot. I can tell because you got no friends, no pictures, no whatever. You're from Thailand. So actually, I found out that when you interact with bots at all, it makes that bot more powerful, even if it's just people seeing you interact with it. So then they're also drawn to that content and they start interacting with it. So it tends to be more seen because the algorithm makes it more seen. But also, something else that bots do is they learn to use your language. I'm so sorry if you can hear my dogs barking. The bots learn to use your language to either mimic your language, learn objections, how to overcome objections to your language. And so when you interact with bots, even when I go in and say, hey, this is a bot, it's got no friends, no pictures, then the bot might learn that it needs to have some fake friends and have some pictures. If you comment back to the bot and defend your position, that bot might learn how to overcome that objection defending your position or incite more rage defending your position. So, what do we do? The only thing that you can do, unfortunately, with these bots is to completely ignore them. One of the best ways to do so is simply just to block them because then you won't see them interacting. It might also hurt in the algorithm if they get blocked by a lot of people. And so when you see bots, just block them and walk away. There's some people that don't use critical thinking skills. And they don't try to figure out if it's a bot or not. And unfortunately for them, it's going to be really hard for us to figure out how to educate them on being able to see when something as easily as Steve was able to figure out is some sort of paid for an actor or a bot. Um, so, at least the glimmer of hope that we have is America might not be as bad as we think, as far as just the argumentative nature that the internet has. The bittersweet thing is we can just block bots, but we don't know if that's going to be enough. I'll also say that if you happen to be commenting on rage bait or content that you just hate what that content says. It makes you so angry. If you interact with that content at all, it also is feeding the algorithm. And unfortunately, on top of bots that are created to divide us, there's also some monetization from different pages where people from other countries have discovered that they can monetize pages by sharing rage bait or content that is meant to incite, and they do it solely for the cash. They don't care at all about having anything other than the money put towards their account. And so they will find a group that is easily into clickbait, and they'll share lots of things that will make them clickbait. Negative energy and rage bait tends to serve us better as far as the algorithm and being shared. So they will do that for money. I'm so sorry. So I wanted to move on to what some of our goals are, and some of the things that we're working on with different elections. We are currently trying to get our spreadsheet filled out. Here's what our spreadsheet looks like. I just have a template. This is our open elected positions spreadsheet. You can see that we have some counties down at the different tabs down at the bottom. If you are interested in creating one of these spreadsheets for one of these counties for us, what we're trying to do is use this spreadsheet to be able to gather information about different positions that are available for our local communities, so we can fill some of those positions with moral people just like you. And we're looking specifically for the open position name, district that it's in, filing date to run, alternative filing dates, just because I noticed some filing dates might have to do with if you want to be listed as a Republican or a Democrat, you might have to file earlier. If you just want to be listed on the general ballot, you have a filing date that might be a little bit later. We're trying to list the requirements to run, if there's any compensation available, the estimated time commitment, because I recently found out something, that some school boards only require 5 to 10 hours a month for you to be a member, to be an elected official to that school board. And some might even also have compensation. So there might be some elected positions that are a lot smaller of a time commitment than you think, that are still really important. So then we want to list any opponents that are running, as well as their affiliation, and any incumbents running. So I want to explain some reasons why we're getting this information. We're trying to figure out if there's any low-hanging fruit where there's just nobody running against that person. And so that position, you would literally be a shoo-in to win because you would be the only person on the ballot. We also want to see, in addition to opponents running, if an incumbent is running, because it might be harder to beat somebody that's held the position for a long time. And so we're looking to support people that are both Republican, Democrats, independent, or previously uninterested. We don't care about your background as long as you have morals. What we're trying to do after we get this spreadsheet completed is for us to have local people in each one of these counties be able to approach friends or family members and say things like, hey, did you know it could only take 10 hours a month to be on the school board, and the compensation's like, I don't know, $700 or $800, which it's not tons of money per hour. I get that, but this is more about service and civic duty than it is about money. I will say there's some full-time positions that have a very reasonable salary, but you might be able to convince somebody with the low amount of time that is needed to do that position, or the certain amount of money for the position, to talk them into running. So what I did for the position for Knox County, I just simply went to Google and typed in open elected positions in Knox County on the ballot. And I got to Knox County, Tennessee's webpage. I found a lot of these would be like the county webpage is probably one of the best options. You can also look at like Tennessee.gov and try to trickle that down into your specific county, or your state.gov and try to trickle that down. But it clearly lists all of the offices on the ballot. This right here is for primary elections. So it's really for Republican, Democrats, primary elections only. And it lists every single office on the ballot. Then we have the schedule that's available. So whoever's creating our website would not, or I'm sorry, whoever's creating our spreadsheet would put in all of these positions. Then they would put in dates to file and petition deadlines, because that's what we're looking for right here, petition deadlines, so we can have a petition party and get our members that are local to sign the petitions in their district to support our candidates. And then there's some more options down here for more ballots and positions and filing dates. So if you're interested in just filling a spreadsheet like this out for us, all I need you to do is to email usmoralcompass@gmail.com. We'll give you access to the spreadsheet. You can fill it out for your county, and that can help us recruit people just like you. Now, if you did not see our post yesterday, it was all about turning your camera around and trying to support our movement and be louder than the bots on social media, and just say, I live in America and this has gone too far. If you can do that, I want you to tag us and we will share your message so that way we can amplify human voices. Don't forget that tomorrow is the Free America Walkout at 2 p.m. If you happen to be able to walk out, please do so. If you happen to be like me and you work from home, it's okay to walk out of your house. Just walk outside so that way you feel like you can participate. I personally plan to not only do the walkout and walk outside, but I'm going to film it and share it live on my own personal page so that way I can amplify my own voice. And I'm going to film my face, say I'm being part of the Great American Walkout. Then I'm going to hold my phone up to my ceiling and walk out of my house, because I'm trying to be careful and not share any of my own personal information, like the address on the outside of my house. So people can walk outside of my house with me and I guess look at the big, beautiful blue sky. So if you want to participate, it's at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and that is the Great American Walkout. We're trying to keep these meetings less than 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, you can find us at US Moral Compass on social media and at gmail.com, and we will see you tomorrow night.